All right, here I am with Gene Matsook. So honored to be back here in the home of the Rams, and what they have done over the last quarter century is absolutely, bar none, a classic when you think of any high school football program. 25 consecutive years, winners in the first round of the postseason, 24 of them with this gentleman right here. Look, one of the things, Coach, before we get into the X and O's and the history of these two schools, Fort Cherry and Rochester, getting ready to do battle this week, I have a very special place in my heart for all high school sports, but especially King football, all classifications. And I've been at it for decades, either behind a microphone doing this or just being a fan like I am. One of the things that I think people need to understand, there are incredible things happening in 5A, and 6A, and 4A with facilities. And sometimes I think we lose sight of how important the student athlete is across the board. And I knew Rochester many times over and over, I've said when I've come here, man, they need a facelift. They need something like a new field house or a new track or maybe some bells and whistles for the field, weightlifting facilities. And I know this is a very slippery slope for you to discuss, but when I look at this school district and its rich history and how much it has really been the team in Class A for a quarter of a century, even longer, going back to the state titles that your brother won, of course, and Ryan being here, of course, your nephew, and all of the people that I've known throughout the years, do you sometimes feel a little sad for your student athletes that don't have better facilities?
Well, you always want better facilities. There's no doubt, and you know what? And the facilities are for the kids. You know, and I think when it comes to sports and facilities, and schools have a harder time paying where other schools don't. Taxes have to be raised or whatever it may be. So it's a difficult line there. A lot of people have to raise money to do what they have to do. So, being here for this long, you hope that you want your facilities to be up at a higher level, and for the kids, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the kids.
Well, listen, you got great alumni, you got the corporate community, anybody out there who can help this program. Hey, whatever I need to do, even if you need me at your side to kind of promote what we can do to make it better, I think this school district deserves it. And when you look at what they have done in football, I don't know any team in this area who has done as much. There may be a few along the Ohio River, and I think we know who they are, but for the most part, this has been an incredible journey, and they continue to do just what they do, win. Now, let's look back at this win that you just had against a very tough Cornell team. What's amazing about your football team is always the next man up. A lot of your philosophy I use in my daily life. I was here yesterday when they were watching film, and I was listening in the distance, and some of the things that he's talking about, it could be X and O's or the game of life. Next man down, somebody steps in, and you had a lot of people stepping in throughout the season, going back to last year. But this year, you're waiting for Antonio Laurie to get back in the lineup. You had Guido come in and had a great game, and while the absence of maybe one of the best running backs, definitely in Class A, but in the WPIL. Have you ever seen such a string of injuries with a football team, really, for the last almost 2 years now, week in and week out?
Yeah, it's been kind of tough. Last 4 years actually, we've been hit with a little bit of the injury bug. But hey, you got to pick yourself up. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You got to get up on your feet, and you got to move forward. And all these years that we've had the injuries, our kids have stepped up and done a tremendous job of handling the adversity that they have that was thrown to them. This year we've lost a multiple of starters. And a couple of our seniors and a lot of our underclassmen have stepped up as a team to move forward, and that's what it's all about. Next man in. That's the philosophy we have here. The next man up, and that's why you prepare your backups to get them ready to go.
All right, and something you said yesterday, on any given Friday night, anybody can win. Well, Fort Cherry's had an incredible run this year. We'll get to them in a moment, but I talked to Coach Burton yesterday, your defensive coordinator, about that epic win against Cornell. I've been watching the social media stuff over and over. It's just so thrilling. That's what high school football is all about. But how about Potts comes back after being gone with a concussion for 3 weeks, that protocol. He gets in, pick six, boom. He takes it to the house to begin the festivities. Fumble recovery, point after blocked in overtime. Then your young Portuguese transfer student comes in, boom, amazing, right through the uprights. You get a 20-19 win. How exciting. You've seen a lot of exciting football games, but man, that was an epic ending to an incredible football.
Sure was. It was good for the kids. Like I said, with the adversity that has faced them over the last, several weeks, to go out on their first playoff game and with a couple kids on the sidelines, and the way they stepped up and rose up as a team and followed the Rochester system, and they did a tremendous job with that. And I was so happy for them, for what they accomplished. And it's win and move on, and that's what we did.
Talk about your kicker real quick.
He came in this year, got a great leg. We brought a kicking coach in for him, and he used that to his strengths. And so he practices every day with all his kicking. And when he kicked the extra point, I went out to him just like practice, and he did a tremendous job of splitting the uprights. So I was happy for him.
Coach is getting good at this, man. He's stopping those assistant coaches as they're entering before they step in front of the lens here. Listen, a couple more moments. Let's take a look at Fort Cherry. Now, 5 years ago, this team did not win a football game, and they're senior late, and I've had a chance to catch some film of this football team, and they came off of a big win to finish their season undefeated. They won their conference. I had a chance to talk to Rich Johnson of Bishop Canevin, the only loss on the Crusaders' record this year to Fort Cherry. But I think of Marty Schottenheimer and Marvin Lewis and Brunello, who was the WPIL's all-time leading rusher until Russell Shaw from Hopewell came along and beat that, but he's still now number 2. So a lot of rich history for sure. But here's the amazing thing. When I was reading an article about them in the Post-Gazette, they got a sophomore quarterback in this Matsook. This kid, I admire him because he stayed true to that Class A mentality. When he's got a skill set, that it would have been very easy for him to maybe find another home. I love the fact that they're buying into staying with the school and the district they're from. And even though it's going to be an epic battle, isn't it nice to see a kid with talent like that, only a sophomore, getting a chance to really show what he has?
Oh, no doubt. He's a tremendous athlete in a lot of sports, and a great kid. And Coach Gary does a tremendous job with his kids down there. They've worked up to this point, and to see him, stay at his school, and that's a tremendous. That's great for him and his friends, and and Fort Cherry, and so. He's a great athlete. There's no doubt about that. Okay.
All right, before I leave, this season to this point, you can't be more proud of a football team, especially all the adversities, and they just continue to roll, right?
Oh, it's a season that's been kind of tough in a sense of demoralizing in a sense of the injuries, but on the other hand, it's been gratifying in a sense of seeing like these kids work day in and day out, try to reach their goals, and they've reached their first goal of getting to the playoffs, and the strive to get better each day. I mean, that's just a special moment to me from these kids. Sometimes the scoreboard doesn't tell you a lot about your kids, and I got a great bunch of kids. I've always had a great bunch of kids year in and year out, this group here, the 2023 group, has been special up to this point, and so hopefully we can keep it going.
Listen, in closing, I was talking about all of the history at Fort Cherry. Well, they've got a little history here too. Chris Griffin, of course, Derek Moy, who's now the wide receiver coach at Central Catholic with Ryan Lehmeyer, a good friend of mine, and Babe Pirelli. And every time I think about Babe Pirelli, I can't help but think about Bear Bryant of Kentucky. Namath goes to Alabama, Bear Bryant, and he's Namath's backup in Super Bowl III.
Right.
I mean, isn't that really still uncanny to this day when you think about it?
You got Chris Griffin.
Yeah.
Chris played for the Chiefs.
Right.
So we've had some kids come through, and done really well for themselves at the next level, and it's nice to see all that, and like you said, Babe Pirelli, who's got what his history here at Rochester has been tremendous, and what he went on to do and so forth. So it's a special place. There's a lot of history here, and a lot of successes, and a lot of individual building in the sense of each kid, and all these kids are special. I said being here for 38 years, but being a head coach for 24, you figure, do the math. If you have 24 years and you got 30 kids on a team, do the math. That's a lot of kids. And so, we've had over 1,000 kids that come through the program, and every one of them are special. And that's what makes it. That's what makes you go. Everybody thinks you got to win championships every year, and that's always the goal, is to go out and win. But there's a lot more to it.
No doubt. Listen, can't say enough good things about Coach Matsook and the school district, and big fans of what they do. Best of luck against Fort Cherry. Now, let me remind you, the Allegheny Health Network Sports Medicine Friday night game of the week is going to be a big matchup in 5A, Pine, Richland, and Penn Hills. And joining me on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show right after local news at 11, we'll look back at the X and O's and recap it with John Ladon, who's got roots in Aliquippa, of course, went to high school there, played at Robert Morris, and also Charles Morris from Penn Hills. They'll both join me to kind of look back at that game. Hey, in the meantime, back on the air tonight, just a couple of hours, going to be an epic night. It's Election Day 2023, so we're going to be with you all the way until the polls close and into the evening. So I hope you'll join me tonight on KDK. And remember, there's always more sports at 93.7thefan.com.